Hey guys, how's it going? It's Baggins here, and today I wanted to make a quick guide for Endgame in New World, as I've seen a lot of players recently in the YouTube comments, in the Twitch chat, in the Twitter, on the Reddit, asking about New World. They're coming back to the game, they hit level 60, or they're almost level 60, and they want to get into doing stuff in the Endgame. What does that look like? What should they be doing? What has changed since they last played in 2021? Today's video is sponsored by MSI and their ultra-wide HD gaming monitor, the Optix MEG381 CQR Plus. It is a 38-inch monitor with a 21.9 aspect ratio, and it is the world's first HMI curved gaming monitor. It has up to 175 Hz of refresh rate with a 1 millisecond response time, and it's also G-Sync compatible. MSI sent me one of these bad boys to open on my stream, and I can tell you it is an absolute beast. If you guys are interested, I'll put a link to it in the description down below. It's probably one of the most insane monitors I've ever gamed on, so if you guys are interested, I'd highly recommend checking out the link. Thank you to MSI for sponsoring this video. Now, in New World, like we have in many other MMOs, first and foremost, you have the character grind. So you grind your character all the way up to the max level, which is 60 in New World, and then the second grind begins. And the grind that we have in New World is expertise. This is going to dictate how good your gear is in a roundabout way. And your gear, of course, meaning the stuff you have equipped to your character. So your helmet, your chest, your amulet, jewelry, your weapons, so on and so forth. Now, why is expertise important? What exactly does it mean? Well, in order to demonstrate this, we're going to go over to, of course, the majestic Microsoft Paint. Now, for those of you who are returning players to New World, you'll remember this system as the watermark system. When you hit level 60, you start off at 500, and it is actually displayed in the game right now. You can see it next to each individual slot for weapons that you have. We can change them over here, so you can see my expertise on the musket is 585, but if I was to put a life staff on, it goes all the way up to 595, as I've grounded out a little bit on life staffs with this test character that we have here. Now, previously, in older versions of the game, 590 was the maximum you could get, and they changed this over to 600, I want to say about 2 months ago. But what this number dictates is how good will a drop be that you receive. So if you receive a pair of gloves and you have expertise, let's say 550 on the glove slot, what that means is the gloves that you receive are going to be somewhere in that range in terms of gear score. So that's the GS. You know, if we go back into the game real quick, we can look at the gear score of items here. 503 gear score, 575 gear score, 600 gear score. Now, obviously, 600, bigger number, better item. So 503, the higher the gear score, the more armor rating a piece of armor gives you, and the higher the gear score, the more damage a weapon does. So it helps you do more damage, and it helps you take less damage. And there's also something to be said about gear score relating to the rarity of the item as well. Generally, 600s usually mean legendary, and legendary is exciting because everybody likes the oranges. So going back to our Microsoft Paint demonstration here, you want to get this number to be as high as possible, because if that's going to dictate how good a drop is, then you want the number to be higher. Now, as we mentioned previously, the cap was 590, and the way this works exactly is when you're at 590 in a slot, you can receive plus 10 or minus 10 for that item. So previously, it was very frustrating trying to get those 600 gear score legendaries to drop, because you were always working within the range of 580 to 600. So there's 20 points of like RNG there, and only one of them is actually going to be the one that you want, the 600. You want to receive the 600 legendaries. But now, for my returning players, they have bumped the expertise or watermark ceiling all the way up to 600. Now, this doesn't mean that you can go above 600. Unfortunately, you can't receive 601, 602, 610 gear score drops. But it does reduce the range from 590 to 600, so there's only 10 points of difference here, which means you are twice as likely as you were previously to receive a 600 gear score legendary. Maybe you want Fury from Lazarus Instrumentality, the Fire Binder Lifestaff, or something like that. There's a lot of good items that can drop from dungeons or just drop in general, and the higher your expertise is, the more likely it is to be 600 and be the legendary version of itself. One other thing you can do in the game when you get to 590 is make use of the Umbral Shard system as well. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but 590 is the minimum point where you can start upgrading gear with Umbral Shards. So this is the main reason why we want to get to this 600 expertise level. It is very important if you want to farm out any drops, and it also does dictate the gear score of your item as well. Amazon added in a system at the beginning of the year where the gear score of an item is actually rounded down to your expertise within that slot. So we can take a look at my blunderbuss expertise here. It is 585. If I was to go to the trading post and buy a 600 gear score blunderbuss, you can see when I mouse over the item, it actually gets downscaled. So gear score adjusted to the average of expertise and the item's gear score. So we go down a little bit. So again, another reason why you want to get that expertise number up so you can take full advantage of this. Now, it is worth mentioning, I could still buy this blunderbuss, and as I level up my expertise with that weapon, it does eventually unlock its full potential. So you don't need to worry about, like, if you want to buy an item, you need to buy it when you have the right expertise. You can buy it at any point and sort of level into it, if that makes sense. But yeah, hopefully that fully covers the expertise system within New World and why it is very important for the end game for both new and returning players, and, you know, what has changed with it over time. So most likely the next question you now have for me is, well, Baggins, how do I increase the number then? What is a good way to do it? What is an efficient way to do it? Or what is a fun way to do it? Well, the last one, fun, is going to be a bit subjective, but in my opinion, one of the best ways to level up your expertise is just a good old dungeon spam or expedition spam. Garden of Genesis in particular, in my opinion, is very good for leveling up your expertise. The runs are pretty quick, and every other enemy and every chest you open does give you an expertise bump on average. So I think like every run you do, you're probably going to go up 10 points overall across multiple different slots. So if you can bear to do it, just doing like a full week of dungeon grinding should see you getting pretty close to 600 in almost every slot, which I think is a little bit better than what we used to have in the past, where it was just chest runs. You just go and open a bunch of chests and you farm one enemy over and over and over again until you hopefully get like an expertise or a watermark bump, and then you just do it again and again and again. Now you can just spam some dungeons, but thankfully on top of that, we do have other less monotonous ways to increase your expertise as well. So this is one of the new things that Amazon added into the game, again, I think at the start of this year, and that is the gypsum system. So in every sort of end game area, so that's Great Cleave, Shattered Mountain, Eden Grove, Reekwater, and Ebonscale Reach, you're going to find one of these bad boys. This is a gypsum kiln. And what we can do with the gypsum kiln is take gypsum and turn it into orbs. So we have a bunch of different orbs we can make from various different types of gypsum here. So this one is gained from killing open world bosses. This one is gained from doing expeditions. This one is for crafting. This one is for doing the elite boss arenas. This one comes from closing corrupted breaches. This one from doing outpost rush. This one is just gained by like just doing stuff in the world generally, you know, killing enemies and looting bags and stuff. And then this one comes from drinking a special potion and then killing enemies. So there's a variety of different content you can do, and a lot of people choose to mix and match different pieces of content. In my opinion, the easiest ones to get are the diamond gypsum, which, like I say, you just get it from basically doing anything, like kill an enemy or chop down a tree, like smash a rock, and you'll receive some diamond gypsum. And then you have the obsidian gypsum farm. One of the best ways to do this is to go up to the north, very top of Ebonscale. There is a boss you can kill there. He's very easy to solo, and I think it's like once every 5 minutes he drops one of these pieces of obsidian gypsum. You do need 3 to make the orb, so you're probably gonna have to spend about 15 minutes there. But if you're efficient, you could also make a topaz attunement potion at any of your campfires, and then you can go ahead, drink that, and kill enemies in the area, and they'll also drop topaz gypsum as well. So 2 different forms of gypsum you can get there. Or you could just go ahead and like skin a bunch of boars. There is a good spot in Eden Grove, you can see it on the screen here, where you can just get a bunch of boars, farm them all down. You'll get your emerald gypsum within like 10-15 minutes as well. So you've got your gypsum from doing the content that you enjoy doing. What you want to do then is go ahead and make it into an orb, and then with that orb you can choose any slot in the game. So if there's a particular item that you want to focus on and you want to bump that expertise up to 600 so you can start receiving the chance of getting a legendary within that particular category, then you focus on that one. So if I really wanted to start receiving legendary blunderbusses, or have a chance at it, you know, get my 600 blunderbuss so I can take full advantage of that one that I was going to buy off the trading post, then I would go for the blunderbuss. One thing that I would also recommend, though, is you guys focus on your jewelry, as jewelry still to this day doesn't drop as frequently as everything else. Like armor and weapons drop pretty consistently, but jewelry not as much. So it is probably going to be one of the last ones that you will like level up to the max. And as a result, I think putting these on cooldown first, so making your amulet, going ahead and making your ring, making your earring every day if you can, is going to be like the smartest way to level up your expertise. And then secondly, I would choose weapons, because there's a lot of really good weapons that drop from a variety of different dungeons. And finally, I would do your armor, because armor drops everywhere. And still to this day, I think crafted armor on average is better than any like dropped armor you can receive. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in this guide for the New World endgame system is the Umbral Shards. This is something new that they added in, again, like a month or two ago, and mainly these come from doing mutated expeditions. So every week there is a different mutated expedition somewhere on the map. On the PTR, it's Mutated Tempest Heart, but when you're watching this video, it might be Garden of Genesis, Lazarus Instrumentality, Dynasty Shipyard, so on and so forth. Now, how many Umbral Shards you get from completing an expedition is based on the difficulty at which you do it at, whether it's difficulty 10, difficulty 9, difficulty 1, and then whether you get gold, silver, or bronze. But regardless, you should get some amount of Umbral Shards for doing mutated expeditions. It is worth mentioning you can also, at the time of recording, get them from Outpost Rush. You get 100 for winning a game, and you get 50 for losing a game. Now, with these Umbral Shards, as the description reads here, they're used to upgrade a piece of gear that is 590 gear score or higher. But unfortunately for me, I do need to get to 600. Again, another reason why we really want to get to 600 expertise, because that's when I can start upgrading them. But if my expertise slot was 600 with the life staff, and in hindsight, I probably should have gone ahead and made a life staff cast instead, then I would be able to spend these Umbral Shards on upgrading this item. And this allows you to go above 600 gear score all the way up to 625. Now, in my opinion, there isn't a massive advantage of going to 625 in terms of like PvP or even PvE. The biggest reason to go to 65 gear score is to do the mutated expeditions, as they artificially scale the difficulty up or down depending on what your overall character's gear score is. So this number down here, this 588. For example, in order to do difficulty 1 of any of the mutated expeditions, it is recommended gear score 602. And if you are even just a couple points under that, it is going to make the enemies hit you for much more damage, and you're going to do way less damage to them. So the biggest reason to invest Umbrals into your gear and get it to like 605 gear score or 610 gear score is to take part in the mutated expeditions. So if you're strictly just interested in PvP, it's not a piece of content that you really have to engage in, but it does give you some extra stats, and it makes these like perks a little bit more effective the higher the gear score of the item goes. And as we mentioned earlier, the higher the gear score, the bigger the armor rating and the more weapon damage you get as well. So that is the Umbral Shards described really quickly. But again, if you want to see like a mutated expeditions guide and stuff like that, I'll put a link in the description down below, at least from the healing standpoint of my approach on those. All right, I did want to keep this video pretty concise, guys, so hopefully I haven't missed anything majorly important. If I have, I'll put it in the comments down below, or you can drop in on the stream and ask me any additional questions you have. We will put a link to the stream in the description down below as well. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you're looking to get back into New World, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know in the stream. If you're coming into New World and you've only just started the game, I hope you do enjoy it a lot. I am really looking forward to this patch that we're going to be getting tomorrow at the time of recording. Hopefully you guys found this useful as an explanation for endgame in New World. If you did, make sure you go ahead and click the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.